Testing, testing.
Okay, great. I'd like to call the February 21st meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Barbara Wallman, Dr. Barbara Wallman. Would y'all please rise with me? Indivisible.
Heavenly Father, guide us tonight as we engage in meaningful discussions and make decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our town. Please keep our first responders and all of our citizens out of harm's way.
Amen. Thank you. We have received the minutes from the January 10th, 2023 meeting, and we've received those minutes electronically. Is there a motion for acceptance of those minutes?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any modifications to those minutes or changes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Opinion of the chair, the minutes have been accepted for January 10th. We also received the minutes from January 17th and February 7th. I believe 17th was a council meeting, and those were sent to us electronically. Is there a motion for acceptance of the January 17th council meeting?
Make a motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The opinion of the chair is passed and accepted unanimously. We also received the February 7th council workshop minutes. Is there a motion for acceptance of those minutes?
I'll move.
And is there a second?
Second.
Is there any modifications to those council minute meetings? Seeing none, all in favor of acceptance, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And in the opinion of the chair, it's unanimously has passed. Accepted. Thank you. For the standing administrative briefing, Mr. Dennis has sent out the administrative briefing. Are there any modifications for Mr. Dennis for the administrative briefing? None. Mr. Dennis, do you have any modifications for us for the administrative briefing? Thank you. All right. New in-town businesses. Mr. Signature, do we have any new in-town businesses in the town?
We do, Mr. Mayor, but I am having some computer problems, so I yield the readings of those to Councilman Bush, I suppose.
Okay, Councilman Bush, do we have any new in-town businesses in Irmo?
We do. Very exciting. Cava Mesa Grill, 952 Lake Murray Boulevard. Direct Accommodations LLC, 7228 Woodrow Street. Dynamite Kids After School, 10,071 Broad River Road. Edema Cleaning Services, 131 Canton Drive. Floyd Brace Company, 8,000 Broad River Road. My Purpose Counseling, 1180 Columbia Avenue. Nails by Tracy, 107 North Royal Tower Drive. And Ryder Family Chiropractic, 7839 Broad River Road.
Fantastic. Edema Cleaning Services, huh? That's pretty good. You hear that, Mrs. Walker? Consider, are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, no amendments to the agenda. Consideration of communications. If y'all would join me down here. I'd like to call up the Fleet Feet store. Anybody from Fleet Feet here? There you are, come on up. Every month, we recognize a business in the town of Irmo, and this month, we're happy to recognize the proprietors of Fleet Feet. And come on up, stand right here in the middle. Thank you. Come on up, come on up. We recognize you as being the business of the month for the month of February 2023. And this simply reads is that in recognition of being the business of the month for the month of February, he's going to turn me down a little bit. Thank you. For the town of Irmo, we present to you this plaque to hold up in your business and to congratulate you on being recognized. Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about your business? With me and my flat feet, you can make me run more comfortably and everything? Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much and congratulations on being. Congratulations, thank you. All right. We have another presentation. Will the people that involved with the chili cook-off come up and, oh, there you are, come on up. Members of the chili cook-off, Wade, come on up here. You won first place. And anybody else from the chili cook-off? Come on up. There we are, Irmo Outreach. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud. We had an event in the town community park. It was the fourth annual chili cook-off, and that was to raise money for the National Kidney Foundation. Ms. Blakely Silica is the head of the Irmo branch of the National Kidney Foundation, and it's very dear to my heart, me being a kidney patient. I'm happy to give back to your organization through a chili cook-off. We raised a lot of money for you, and by the way, Irmo Outreach garnered the first place in the chili cook-off this year. So they were very happy. They had the, what was it, the venison chili? Is that the one that I never got a sample of because y'all sold out of? Yeah, they cooked this venison chili, which was fantastic. But here, I'd like to present to you this check for the Kidney Foundation, and we are so happy to be able to donate back to your organization in the town. If you look forward here, let's say, hey. Tell us a little bit about the Kidney Foundation. I know what you do, but maybe the people don't. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Wade, you want to tell me something about your venison chili that I never got to taste? Okay, but yeah, and you guys participated every year we've had the chili cook-off. And I believe, Ann, you had a vegetarian chili. And I think you sold everything too? I got a cup of that, so. And you had a chili too? You were working with Wade, okay. With Ann, okay. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do this again next year in January. Invite you to come out or be prepared to sample some great chili. We're not gonna let Wade win again. We're gonna have another competitor, but we're gonna also raise some money for the chili cook-off. And we have another event coming up in March, March 11th. It's a car show, and that's gonna benefit the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. And I invite y'all to come out March 11th for the car show and check that out. And once again, to raise money for worthy nonprofits. Thank you so much. Now, one more, and this is going into the bleeding disorders group. Anybody here representing bleeding disorders? Hey, how y'all doing? Come on up front. One of the things, and thank y'all for coming, one of the things that I'm proud to do as a mayor is to give proclamations to different organizations and different worthy causes. And your cause was brought to me about bleeding disorders, and I wanted to read the proclamation to y'all that will proclaim the month of March is the Bleeding Disorders Month. And it reads as such: whereas I, Barry Walker, the mayor of the town of Irmo, am proud to commemorate March 2023 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in the town of Irmo. And whereas in this awareness month, the town of Irmo will generate a greater awareness and understanding of not only the hemophilia, but the inheritable bleeding disorders, including von Willebrand disease, a rare bleeding disorder which affects millions of individuals around the world. And whereas this awareness month will bring light to the great scientific achievements and the treatments of bleeding disorders, which there are no cure, and the greater pursuit of the advancement and therapies of the cures of these disorders. And whereas this awareness month will elevate the awareness and the engagement with the inherited bleeding disorders journey beyond our community to the general public, enabling the prevention of illness and unnecessary procedures and disabilities that now occur. Therefore, I, Barry Walker Sr., the mayor of the town of Irmo, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in the town of Irmo. In witness thereof, I've set my hand to this on the 21st day of February. Congratulations to y'all for the awareness. And if y'all would just recognize them. Tell us a little bit about your bleeding disorders. I'm sorry. Well, thank you very much. And again, congratulations. Got gifts? Oh, okay. Oh. A red tie, okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, council. Thank you all. I lift up. Thank you. Okay. Continuing on with our consideration communications, Dr. Wallman, Community Connections.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. There's several things I wanted to point out this evening. The first is the Irmo's Black History exhibit, which is currently on display at the Irmo Branch Lexington County Library. It will be there through the rest of this month. It's a very impressive and thorough exhibit showing the history of Black individuals in our community. It's a very worthwhile exhibit. I encourage everyone to go see it. The next item that I wanted to mention is that a group called Page 5, the Parent Advocates for Gifted Education in School District 5, is hosting a Summer Enrichment Camp Expo on Tuesday, February 28th. It's a drop-in from 7 to 8:15 at Crossroads Intermediate School in their cafeteria. There will be a lot of different programs represented there, and the programs will have offerings for students of all ages from 4K through 12th grade. The next item is the Unity in the Community event, which will happen on Saturday, April 8th. The part of this event is an Irmo's Got Talent competition, and I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of this talent competition and encourage anyone who would like to enter and show off your skills or talents. And anyone who's interested in finding out more about either competing as a talent person or having a vendor spot or a food truck should contact George Frazier, and his number is at the bottom of this slide. And the final item that I wanted to mention tonight is the Irmo International Festival. This won't happen until April 30th, but the reason I wanted to introduce it now is that they are currently accepting schools or clubs to have space at the festival free of charge. Also, nonprofits can have a booth at the festival free of charge. And again, this will have food trucks, arts and crafts tables, all kinds of different activities. They're also going to have an art contest for students, as well as making a rangoli in the park. But at this point, the most important thing, I guess, right now is if you're interested in participating, again, schools, clubs, nonprofits can participate at no cost. Please contact irmoscfestival@gmail.com if you want more information or want to participate. That's it, Mayor Walker.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to continue on by recognizing the Artist of the Month. This month is Rap by Trish. As you can see, she has, is this something that's on wrapped on display at the town hall, or Courtney? Okay, that's just one of them, right? Okay, no problem. Anyway, she's, as you can see, very colorful artist, and she has her display up on the town hall wall under the Artist of the Month. I'd like to, item D, did you have one, Councilman Sitter?
First, there is the Skate Jam this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I apologize, I have it's at 220 North Royal Tower Drive, which I believe is what's the name of the church there? Universal Church there, 10 to 1, February 25th. I also had just two other updates. One, I received a note from somebody who was sitting in traffic on Lake Murray, off of 26 at St. Andrews, and he complained saying that the St. Andrews light was as long as the Lake Murray light. So I reached out to SCDOT, and they're doing some work on that, hopefully to make some changes, both in the short term and the long term. The other was I had a number of residents who complained about the Blue Granite bill changes, and I think that's, Courtney, something that we're going to be putting on the website in terms of information and how people can raise their voice on that. And related to Blue Granite, a concern from a resident about some possible sewer overflow or sewer issues and sewer smell, Mayor, over on Chadford, kind of by the school and by the ICRC thing. So that is being investigated, and hopefully we'll have an update soon.
Yeah, we're gonna get our Public Works to go out there and check that out and make sure that it's a sewer leak. As you know, when people get cut off from Blue Granite sewer, they continue to have water that's available to them. And if they get cut off from Blue Granite and they have water coming in, that sewer has to go somewhere, and it leaches out to the streets. So absolutely, Whit, if you would go out there and make an appointment to check that out, and of course, verify that it is a leak, not from a person that has been cut off, but it's coming from the actual system itself. That would be great.
I'm sorry, I have one last thing.
Oh, go ahead.
I apologize, but I did have a resident who also reached out to me about some of the items that we discussed during the workshop that are not on this agenda. And I spoke with the assistant town administrator, and there's some additional work that has to be done. There was some confusion, and so that is ongoing, but I just wanted to alert the public that those things that we talked about during the workshop aren't dead.
What thing? Oh, yes, it's not on, okay, I got you, okay, got you, okay. I'd like to also say that the community garden is ready to start planning for the spring, and one of the things that we're doing as we develop the dog park is we have done a lot of work, topography work in the dog park, which has caused the community garden to not have access for deliveries for bulk mulch and stuff to their garden. So I would urge, while we got the tractor out there, could they put that ramp back into the big gate? They cleaned it out, or they moved it, I guess, moving the topography around. They took away the access to the big gate. So I guess they have to put down a pipe and then put more dirt on top of that to build that ramp back. Can they have somebody work on that sooner than later? Because they got to get access for that delivery of mulch, unless you want to put it right in the middle of the. Right. So you think by next week they'll be back in business? Because they got a delivery coming. That's why I'm
That's our
asking.
plan. They talked to me about the delivery date. We hope
The garden people talked to you about it already? Okay. Fantastic.
they had a date of like 21st.
March? No, this is in February that they told me.
When I talked to her, we only had a few more weeks before
Okay, okay.
the last conversation.
No problem. I just want to make sure that they don't get delayed. You know, Good Friday is planting day for them. Everything has to be in the ground by Good Friday in order to get tomatoes by June. And I can't wait for my tomatoes out of the community garden by June, so. Anyway, that's the other receipt. The last receipt of communication that I have is tomorrow is Harbison's Black History Month event. It's at 12 noon at the Harbison Theater. It's a luncheon as well as a presentation about the history-making people in the Irmo community through Black history that have made a contribution to the state as well as Irmo. And I would invite the general public, if you have time and you want a good lunch and want to learn about the history of Irmo in Harbison College, to come out to this event. It's 12 o'clock noon. It's free, and it's at the Harbison Theater complex right here on Columbia Avenue. And that's at Midlands Tech Harbison Campus Black History Month. Is there anyone else who has a receipt of communication? Sir, Mr. Bill.
Yes, sir. It's more of a question than anything else. I got, on Monday, I had a couple of people reach out to me that the bathrooms in the community park were locked. And we had to send somebody over there to get them multiple texts. And I just want to make sure that we have that covered going forward, especially on a holiday when there are a lot of folks in the community park.
Sure, I don't know what the miscommunication was, but the police lock it up and open it up every day. So I don't know why it didn't get open Monday morning. We were alerted to it.
Okay. Are there any more? Seeing none. Participation by citizens on agenda items. Nobody has signed up, but is there anybody that'd like to address council on agenda items? Just come up and give it. Okay, I got it. Anybody wants to address council on agenda items, please come up and give your name and address, and we will be glad to hear from you. Still can't hear them. There you go.
Good evening, members of the council.
There you go.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I came up to the last town council meeting and I spoke about advocating for less government control.
What's your name, please?
I'm sorry. Thomas Gradle, 725 Chadford Road.
Thank you.
I came up to the last town council meeting and advocated for less government control over privately owned residential property within this town. And somehow, through your convoluted government process, that was misconstrued and resulted in furtherance of more government control over privately owned residential property within this town. From what I've read, you are now attempting to regulate water runoff with exclusion to rainfall. My question is irrigation systems, washing of cars, etc. So now the town sees fit to make it unlawful for water to be running off of one's property when we already have so many ridiculous and frivolous ordinances on the books that, in my opinion, need to go away. I would urge the members of the council to vote against that new ordinance that would somehow attempt to regulate water and other liquids running off of one's property. As it is so asinine, I almost have no words. That will be all.
Thank you, Mr. Gradle. Is there anybody else that did not sign up would like to address council on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll continue on then. Unfinished business, second and final reading of ordinance 2001. Is there a motion for second and final reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Sickinger?
Yeah, this is cleanup and revision and clarification. There is one change I'd like to make, and I'm not sure, I believe it's on the next page from here, as it regards to fencing, or, I'm sorry, fence, a brick fence. There's language in there that says something about more than 5, and so I'd like to make a motion for an amendment to amend it to remove more than 5 than for it to say less than 6. I don't know if you have that on the slide, Mia.
That's what it says now.
Well, that's what the proposed new ordinance said,
Yeah.
less than 5, and so we're reverting, I would like to revert it back to less
Okay,
than 6.
so delete that more than 5. Okay. So that's a motion to remove more than 5 feet in height, item H, and go back to the original less than 6. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
And any conversation about that amendment?
No.
Seeing none? Sorry. Okay, seeing none, will the clerk read the roll on that amendment, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Signature? Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Signature? Mr. Bush? Any comments? Dr. Waldman? Mr. Danielson?
Yeah, I could go through the notion of amend,
What?
I could go through the motion of amending this back to the way it was, rather than the number of lanes, 3 versus 4. To do that and just vote negative on this scenario. I have had a change of heart. I just struggling with it. So just wanted to let you know that.
Where's, oh, you're talking about in the, under the multifamily housing, street access?
Correct.
Okay. Not gonna touch that right now. All right, I ask you. All right. Well, I have a couple of amendments, and I'd like to start by prefacing, under the old conditional uses for townhomes, and we're modifying this for townhomes and for multifamily. It says on item A that such projects will be a minimum of 1 acre. 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. Then it goes on to item B, it says the minimum lot shall be 3,000 square feet per unit on average. So that math says that out of that 43,560 square foot, 1 acre lot, you can have 14 units in that 43,000 square feet. And then it goes on for townhomes and says they can't be joined together, they have to be staggered. And then down to item I, where the proposed for RG district, which is residential general, it says the maximum density for a townhome project shall not exceed 4 units per acre. Well, up here, we said that the minimum lot size shall be 3,000 square feet per unit on average. That's 14 units, 14.5 units in that 1 acre lot. And then down here, this is a conflict that says you can only have 4 units per acre. So that needs to be addressed. And coming down where now we're addressing multifamily units. Again, multifamily and townhomes, I guess we're considering that to be sort of the same type of a project. But where it says, with a proposed RG district, the maximum density for a townhome project shall not exceed 4 units per acre. And then down in the multifamily unit,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, point of information. Would you mind just, you jumped around a little bit, so I just a little lost about where you are right now.
I'm talking about,
I know which, in the big picture, but I just want to make sure I'm in the following along.
yeah, I'm talking about the actual ordinance 2301, the conditional uses language that's in the, that we're voting on. Yeah. All right, no problem. And then we're talking about we're proposing it for multifamily housing and townhomes. We're going from just townhomes to both multifamily and townhomes and adding the language for both conditions in here. But again, it's saying the malfunction that I'm having is that we have a proposed for the RG district is 14 units per acre is what we propose to do. But in the language, it says it only has 4 units per acre, that the project should not exceed 4 units per acre for townhomes and same for the multifamily. On the multifamily, it says such projects shall have a minimum of 1 acre. Again, we're back to the 43,560 square feet. In zoning table, under zoning regulations for the use of lots, the maximum residential density for under RG, it says in the table is 16 units. And, you know, you can only have 14.5, so I understand that's a call that we have to make at the ZBA meeting. But right now, the way this is written, there's a conflict in the ordinance itself. So, do one or two things. I propose to make a motion that we strike item I, where it says the density of a townhome project shall not exceed 4 per acre. We need to strike that line. And that's for both multifamily and for townhomes. And then let it fall on the table that has the definition of how many residential density units we have. RG is 16, which is limited by the number of units per acre based on what acreage they have, and then 4 for anything else, commercial, general commercial. So that's my motion to strike that line, and if I don't get a second on it, that means you want to keep it the same the way it is, which is, again, is a conflict with the item B in the ordinance. So
Okay,
that's my motion.
I'll second so we can discuss it.
Okay. So it's been properly moved in second. I've explained my position. Ms. Sickinger, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So you talked about, and this is just for clarity, and if it's okay with you,
Yeah.
I'd love for the staff to be able to chime in where there's additional need for clarity. So you talked about having a minimum of 1 acre and a either confusion or mismatch on that 1 acre and number of buildings per acre. But my reading of that, and I didn't get a chance to consider the proposed amendment
Yeah,
before. No, that's fine, but my reading of it is that a minimum lot at 3,000 doesn't preclude them from using more. It's just they can't go smaller than 3,000 square feet per unit. So
Right.
that just means that then there's more green space, or that there's space that's not occupied by a townhouse or a multifamily housing. So I'm not quite sure I understand the mismatch that you said there is between the minimum lot area and the number of units per acre. I don't think that that's a mismatch, and I may just be reading it incorrectly. And just to continue on with the rest of it, the what is that? The table.
Yeah. that's it.
What I'm trying to understand here then is it, and this is directed to staff, is it, are we intending to clarify something from the table? Like, what is the distinction between what's written in 2301 versus what's in the table? That's, I think, my primary thing that I agree with you on.
Table is meant for anything proposed, so single-family, detached, residential, and so on. But this is a conditional use for townhomes, and so you're modifying the table usage. You're using
So then, would the table then effectively be modified by the change that we're making?
No, because you're only talking about townhomes.
Okay.
So, you wouldn't need to modify the table because the table applies to everything.
Somewhere out there, there's a plain language requirement that can just say this in one sentence or two sentence, but that clarifies for me. Thank you.
Okay, and about are you clear about the number of units per acre? That's where the conflict I see. It says right there, yeah, it says here that in the proposed RG districts, the maximum density for townhomes, and in this case, multifamily, is only 4 units per acre, whereas you can put 14.5 if you were to build 3,000 square foot units and don't count for anything else, which they won't. They won't account, they'll have to count for retention ponds, sidewalks, streets, which won't be free, but if using that 3 as a basis for them to develop, I'm gonna develop this 1 acre lot, and I'm gonna have 3,000 square foot homes. I could put 14 units, which we know they can't because they're gonna put the infrastructure in. But that's where the conflict
Okay.
is between that 14 and that 4 down here.
So my reading of it, and thank you for the clarification, my reading of it was that regardless of how many they can fit based on the number of square feet, they can't do more than, right, right, that's where I was. At the minimum, they can't make it any smaller than 3,000 square feet.
Correct.
So as a lot. So it doesn't matter whether or not they could do 14 based on that minimum size. They're going to need to do something else with that leftover space.
Yeah, but this says 4 units per acre, and that's where the conflict is. You're gonna have a minimum, if you have a minimum of 3,000 square feet on a 43,000 square foot lot, you can certainly put more than 4 units
I say.
on that 1 acre lot.
Yeah, you certainly could, but I think the intention of the 2103 is to say you can, but you're only allowed the number that we put up there.
Yeah, well, 3,000 square foot is a minimum size.
Mhm.
Whatever that math works out to be with your infrastructure. No? Okay. Anybody else? Bill, you have a?
Yeah, I'm just struggle with the infrastructure language. I can do the math. And, yeah, 3,042, you can get it under 43,000 if you're doing that number of units. So it's saying you can't do more than 14.5 on the parcel. But you brought up a good point, Mr. Mayor. I don't see where we're talking gross square footage
Correct.
versus, so technically, if the sidewalks are in and I come along and I don't have to do anything but put up, I can put that number of units on that 1 acre lot, and there is no infrastructure, so just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Mr. Bush?
I hate to throw Boolean algebra in here, but, so you're only restricting this in RG. I notice there's a conditional in CN and CG. What is the matrix on, if I propose CN or CG, do I get to put more than
No.
four?
In the table here? I'm sorry.
Say again? 7 in CN or 7 in CG?
CN is 7,
so-
and CG is 4. That's based on the table on page 36 of the comprehensive zoning ordinance. That's on the table.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess.
That's not changing. That's not.
So where I was going is if they're zoned for CN, then they can do 7 per acre. If they're zoned RG, maybe we were trying, or maybe the ordinance itself is just trying to be more restrictive in RG than it is in CN, for example.
Yeah, but I don't think we're trying to be more restrictive in limiting the number of units. I mean, RG is supposed to be for multifamily, townhomes, that kind of thing. I don't think that was the intent. I think we were trying to clear up that language. But that was language left over that was originally in the ordinance that we needed to clean up while we're doing this modification. That's where I'm coming from. Okay? Dr. Wallman?
Yes, I see it as part of the condition of putting townhouses into RG, that we're not changing RG across the board. We're just saying that if it's an RG district and a developer wants to put townhouses in there, that they will not exceed 4 units per acre, that that's one of the conditions of this conditional use. It doesn't mean that the 3,000 is a minimum. So you could even have, one unit that's 3,000, one lot that's 3,000 and one lot that's 6,000. And you could have a variety and still have your 4 units per acre
Right,
in
but
that,
if he,
in
but,
that acreage.
right, but if the builder decided to stick to the 3,000 square foot lots, which is, I don't know how, that's a tiny lot. He could put, maximum he could put is 14 units. Net meaning the infrastructure has to be accounted for also.
But I thought that that was the, kind of the purpose of this conditional use language here, that it is to restrict the use of RG, well, in this case, RG district.
That's what I'm saying.
For a townhouse.
RG district by the table is the maximum density of residential density in RG. In the table says 16 units per acre. And this is further restricted by the fact that we're saying that the minimum area of 3,000 square feet per unit on average in a 43,560 square foot acreage is 14 units. You can't put any more than that in there. So it'd be even less than that, but not more than that. But having this language on the bottom, item I, it says you can only put 4 units per acre, period. I don't care if you have 4 units at 3,000, or 4 units at 6,000, or 4 units at 10,000. You can only have 4 units. And I don't think a multifamily development would buy into that, saying that, wait a minute, I want to put a multifamily unit in the RG district. I'm not going to build them 10,000 square foot lots. I'm going to have them, 4,000 square foot lots or some other factor, the minimum being 3,000. And that's why that's in conflict with item B.
Well, actually, that item is not in the conditional uses for multifamily housing. It's only for the townhouses.
Well, it says conditional townhouses and multifamily housing. And these are the conditional uses for townhome. If you get into the
Right, if you go
multifamily
down
house.
to 2-3.6B,
Right.
there
Right.
is no I.
I agree, but that's saying that the multifamily may not cover more than 25% of the total acreage. Now, I'm not going to get into what it's going to be, but that math works out to about the same as what I'm saying. The statement of 4 units per acre is in conflict with the item B on both sides. And if we tell them that you're only going to have multifamily buildings, no more than 25% of the acreage covered, further restricting the number of units they can build. Yeah, that's why this, yeah, so.
I think we've got a history of some of this stuff in the back, and I think we need to correct this outside of this venue, so I would be for deferral.
Okay, is it, all right, no problem. Motion to defer is on
I'll
the,
second.
I did have that. Okay, well, I'll withdraw that motion to amend it, and I will entertain the motion to defer this and send it back to the Planning Commission to come up with the actual verbiage. You with me, Doug?
Yep.
Put it in the workshop? Right. I got you. That's why I pointed it out. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, you had a motion on the floor to strike item I.
No, I withdrew that.
But he seconded it, so it's in discussion.
Okay,
Got it.
I withdrew my motion. Do you withdraw your second?
I don't think, you need to vote it down. You need to vote it down and get off the table.
All right. Will the clerk read the roll to vote down my motion? I put my motion back on the floor. Will the clerk read the roll for my motion to strike item I?
Mr. Bush?
Nay.
Mr. Danielson?
Nay.
Mr. Sickinger?
No.
Dr. Waldman?
No.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay, the motion has been defeated, and that's fine. So now we're back to the original ordinance, and I have a motion on the floor to defer into a workshop and then bring it back up at the next council meeting. Is that right?
I would love to second, can I second that, or did I?
Please second that. Please second that.
I second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. We've pretty much had a conversation about it already. Will the clerk read the roll on the deferment?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Thank you. And we'll get it all worked out and get the numbers right, and so there'll be no conflict or confusion. Thank y'all very much. All right? Okay, unfinished business, item B, second and final reading, ordinance 2302. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yeah, this puts many warehouse and self-storage units under ZBA approval requirement, along with some other small adjustments, and been discussed before in workshop and here, so I'm in favor.
Mr. Bush?
I like it. The wording looks good.
I'm sorry, say it again, sir. Oh, okay. Dr. Wallman? It is okay with you? Okay. Councilman Danielson?
Yeah, so just a brief summary on this. We're kicking any of these requests up to ZBA, and we have specific exterior construction methods and approvals and plans. Is that basically the simplest way of putting this? So if everybody understands that? Okay.
And we're also changing the table also in that. Okay, any more discussion on that? Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. New business, first reading of ordinance 2303. Ben Irmo's Code of Ordinance. Is there a motion to add the language regulating water discharge?
So moved.
Is there a second on that ordinance? Second on that ordinance? Being none, that motion dies for a lack of a second. Moving on, approval of the 2023 orchestra budget in the amount of $171,750,000. Commission Chairman Mike Ward, where are you? There you are. Come on up, and we have approval. I make a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Mr. Ward, I got your budget in front of me, and we appreciate the hard work that y'all have put into this. Explain to us what's going on. Wait a minute. 1 second.
I think it's, yeah. Can you hear me? Awesome.
Yes, sir. Good evening, thank you.
So, first and foremost, thank you for listening and entertaining our budget for the 49th Annual Lexington Medical Center Irmo Ochre Strut. We're excited for this year. We're excited for several reasons. One of the reasons is 2021, we had a good ochre strut. 2022, we had an even better ochre strut. We're really expecting 2023 to be a great ochre strut. See from this budget, there's some of the numbers we were able to keep the same because we just feel that those numbers aren't going to change very, very much. There were some we had to increase under expenses, and we could talk about specifics, but we're dealing with inflation right now. Last year, one of the issues we dealt with was almost all of our vendors, the rentals, anybody we're buying stuff from for the strut, the prices were up. And so I don't expect that to change. I expect it to continue going up. And so we tried to work some of that into this budget. One of the things that I've discussed as we were putting this budget together, and I want to thank the town administrator and the staff that helped put this together with us, and then all of the commission members, the voting and non-voting commission members that actually had discussions through all of this. But we looked at the 2022 budget, which you'll see on your papers, $143,500, which there's a big jump to $171,750. We did take last year's budget into consideration. However, what we looked at instead really was the performance of last year's strut, which we have not received all of the hospitality tax money. Lexington County is still pending, but we're going to be just over, I believe it's 176.
I don't want you to go line by line. We got it in front of us. If anybody has a specific question, they can ask you. But I do want to point out, like you had mentioned, the budget was $143,000 for 2022, and you received in revenue was 174, which would probably be a 176 when all the smoke clears. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically, the 171,000 in here under the 2022 actual expenses was 167,943. Does that change? Would that have changed? That actual expenses?
The expenses should be finalized.
Okay, so then that means that out of that 176,000 we're expecting to get in as revenue for the strut, 167,943 is what we're going to spend out to put it on, which gives us a net goal of something, of some number that's greater than what we spent. So the 171,000 budget for 2023 is not so far out of line based on like you said, the inflationary costs of a lot of stuff. I know it's a big number. I know it's like, wow, but I have confidence that you will generate, as you did last year, the actual budget numbers, the actual revenue coming in to support what you're actually proposing, and probably will exceed it, because now we've learned some stuff like line item parking. We know that that was a big, oh my God, we're gonna charge $20 a car to park their cars. But we actually had a lot of people take advantage of it because they saw the advantage of having your car closer. And we have the facilities to accommodate it. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else? Or Dr. Wallman, you seem anxious to push the button.
I just have one question about a line item that just kind of jumped out at me because there was a fairly large difference between the 2022 budget and the 2022 actual, and that is under expenses, the miscellaneous expenses. The budget was 7,500, and the actual was 42,570 and 40 cents. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit to help me understand what that?
So I could definitely follow up and give you more detail on that. With the finances from last year, a lot of that did fall under the previous chair. I know a lot of the expenses that we had, like we had to get parking lot, flashlights, and it was batteries for flashlights. We had some other expenses that came out. Mr. Dennis, could you help me with that? Because I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Yeah, that's where the 25,000 for the gun buyback was done as well. So that's
Okay.
part of what they approved.
Okay. So that's a majority chunk of that. And then there were other things that fell into the miscellaneous expense that, in my opinion, we really need to create some line items. And we had a discussion about that when we were creating this budget, that as we look at putting stuff in miscellaneous expenses this year, next year we can modify the line items and improve that so that it's a little bit more clear and a lot more transparent.
Councilman Bush?
Just 2 quick ones. So I noticed trash pickup was like $0. What, do we just toss it in somebody's yard, or how do we get away with that? Do we need to put money in that for?
So that was yeah, miscellaneous. No, we've actually partnered up. The Public Works team helps out a lot during the strut, and they do a fine job of keeping things cleaned up during and also doing cleanup after. The 2022 year, we also had a surplus in volunteers. And so we were able to set volunteers out to go and do additional trash runs and make sure the parking lot and the actual park itself was clean. We also take people out and go to the auxiliary parking lots like Irmo Elementary and Union Methodist. We go out to those parking lots and make sure they're cleaned up after the strut. And so this was a line item where I believe we used to hire a street cleaner to come through, hit the streets and hit the parking lots, make sure everything was cleaned up. But year after year, our partnership is working out so that we don't need to hire it. So that's why you see that 0, and that's going to be probably one of the things that comes off of the budget in the future.
The only other one, the second one, was the trolleys and shuttles. We were under the impression, we were, kind of anticipated that having that giant parking lot that we bought last year, that would cut back on some of those expenses, but I know it looks like it's jumped back up a little bit. Is that just like a cushion in case that doesn't work out?
So I will say this was trial and error. Last year, we actually budgeted 10,000, and we weren't quite sure how the parking lot was going to go, so we only actually hired 2 buses. We found that was a bit in error. We really should have had 3 buses. So that's why you see it actually drops from the 22 budget number, but I kept it at 8,000 because we expect to have 3 buses. People do utilize that paid parking. There were mixed feelings and emotions because mostly it was $20, but there were a lot of people that paid it and parked. There were even more people that utilized the free parking lots, and we don't expect that to go away. The strut, last year, I believe we estimated over 20,000 people came through the park between Friday and Saturday. And so that parking lot, while it is wonderful and it's beautiful and it can hold, over 300 cars, 400 cars, it can't host thousands of people. So you definitely have to have buses.
Mr. Danielson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, I got a lot of questions, but I think we'll probably, you and I maybe get coffee one day next week or this week. First of all, I want to thank you for stepping up and heading this commission. I'm buoyed with confidence, knowing that you're at the helm. It's the first thing I want to say. You've touched a little bit on the transparency issue, which I've talked to our town administrator about, and about a little bit more detail on some of the line items, and I think you're getting there. One of them, obviously, is the miscellaneous line item. It should be broken down more, but you're ahead of that. So really, the two questions I'm down to right now are, I see we're trying to bring in bigger acts, which I'm all for, is great. At what point do we go overboard for capacity? That we can't bring acts into that stage, to that amphitheater, because we have a capacity problem. And, you know, if we brought, to use my line, Shania Twain, you know, we can't get the people in there. And so that's my first question. Where's the breaking point there? And then the second part is a number part, the corporate sponsorships. We were 15 short last year. We've got the same number in this year. Where does that confidence come from that you're going to hit that 60,000 number? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'll touch first on the breaking point. The simple, straightforward answer is I don't know yet. So I've had time. Whit was very gracious. He met me and Lauren, which is one of our voting commissioners, along with the production company that came out last year and actually produced this. We met out at the park to talk about the capacity of our stage, of our power, of our park when it comes to a production. The folks that produced our event last year operate not only with events like ours, but events smaller than ours, and they host over 300 events, including national events. So they see a lot of this stuff. This is what they do every single day. So they came out and they were able to give us a lot of recommendations of things that we can do to our amphitheater, to our park, to improve it to host bigger bands. And that information was given to Whit, and Whit's working with an engineer so that we can figure out pricing and figure out how to go forward with that. I also had a conversation with the town administrator, with the police, and I also need to follow up with fire to figure out from a public safety point of view, what is our max? Shania will probably pull over 10,000 people into the park. Can we do that safely? And I think the answer is probably not. But there are some things that we can do to get bigger acts and get them on a bigger stage and modify the way we set up the strut. I just don't have that final picture yet. But we are working on that. I know you heard me say it's the 49th annual. That means next year's the 50th. And we want to make sure we have a nice big year next year. So that's some of the forethought we're putting in. As far as sponsorships, the 2022 sponsorships, we were missing several of our biggest sponsors. And it wasn't for a lack of trying. Most of our major sponsors that we lost last year were temporary losses. They told me, because I actually ran sponsorships last year, they told me that they couldn't do it in 22, and as long as 22 was okay for them, they would come back to us in 23. And so making up that extra $15,000, I think we can definitely do that this year.
Okay, and I'd like to also add, Mike, is that we have a number of new businesses in the Irmo area, you know, and I know for a fact that the car show and the chili cook-off we just had, we got a number of sponsors, big sponsors that we didn't know were even interested in Irmo, have contributed sizable checks to each one of those events. I'll be glad to either give you the names or walk with you to go over there and tell them about the 49th strut and how great it's going to be and how they're going to get their name out there in the public. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised how many big sponsors are willing to put money into this. Awesome. And I think you'll hit that 15,000 with no problem. That's just my 2 cents. Anything else for Mr. Ward? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll on approval? Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay, item C, approval to submit offers to spin doctors not to exceed $25,000. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? For the
Second.
orchestra. Eric made that second. Discussion? Seeing none.
Barry?
I'm sorry. Okay, good.
Is this motion to approve all 3 of these offers?
This is item C, to approve that not to, the spin doctors not to exceed 25,000, KT Tunsil not to exceed 35,000, Mickey Guyton not to exceed 50,000. The reason why you see all 3 of those there is because they put those offers out there, and whichever one they get, they don't want to come back to us on every one of those offers. Is that right, Mike? Help me out. I think that's the way I understood it.
You're on the right path.
Okay.
The commission's worry is that we are already in February. And when we looked at the timing of the meetings, if we make an offer to spin doctors and they tell us no, it would be probably April before we would get approval to send out another offer. So what you see on your agenda is we're going to make an offer one at a time to spin doctors, Katie, and then Mickey Guyton,
Right.
and in that order. So if spin doctors comes back and tells us no, we already have your blessing to move to the next one. And hopefully the plan is one of the 3 is going to tell us yes. But we're only hiring one.
Thank you for the clarification.
We did budget for 50.
Yeah. Any other comments? Seeing none, okay. Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Item D, approval to adjust the starting salary for police officers because they're starving and not making enough money to $44,000. I'll make a motion for that approval to adjust.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
Mr. Bush, Mr. Danielson seconded. Chief, we have been overly excited about our police department and the fine job that you have done, especially over the last week with the unfortunate incident at the Kroger parking lot. You guys were Johnny on the spot. You got the parties. Unfortunately, one lady lost her life, but the person who shot her turned herself in, 30, 40 minutes later. And you guys were Johnny on the spot, getting that under control. And I know that you have done a great job. Our challenge is we want to hire more officers, and we have to be competitive to all the agencies in the area, and I get that. And so our starting salary is $40,000. I think you said that the minimum of most of the agencies in the area are roughly $44,000. Is that right?
Yeah, when we did this study, it's more around average 46, 47,000.
Okay. So raising it to $44,000 plus the benefits that we have. We know we give them a stipend for living in the town. We give them the fact they can take a police car home with them. We give them, we pay for their medical and all that sort of stuff. With a combination of all of those benefits, and plus we give a fairly sizable bonuses at the end of the year, and I give you a frozen turkey for Thanksgiving. All those benefits that you get are things that would attract officers that want to come to the town of Irmo. And we're happy to have those benefits and be able to offer those benefits. But we have to be in a game. We have to be in a ballpark, if you will. So I get it, and I think that that's my 2 cents. Mr. Danielson?
Yes, sir. I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good start. Had the privilege of riding a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night with Corporal Caterly, and tremendous job, and at dinner with a couple of the other officers, and this is a big deal. This is noticed. Also, spent 2 weeks ago, spent some time with the Municipal Association, and it was on police matters and how difficult it is, the retention and keeping these folks and keeping that revolving door from happening. So I think we have to, and this increase affects about, 16, 18 of our current officers right out of the box?
It'll be 13 officers, but 16 positions. That's correct.
Okay, well, see, my memory's not as bad as I thought, so. But yes, this is important stuff. I mean, obviously, given what's occurred in our community, there's nothing we could have done to prevent that, but boy, we were there. I mean,
Yeah.
this is,
Johnny on the spot. I
yep,
love it.
we're doing a good job.
Sickinger.
Yes, Walker. Totally in favor of this. I think someone called me about this today, and they said, what's this about? And I said, well, first of all, that's still not enough, but I mean, it's an increase, and it's more about someone who doesn't know what it's like to be on IPD, and they're just looking at who's paying the most and applying there. That's really the way I look at this, because I don't think we have as much of a retention problem once they're in. It's like, get them in the system, we'll keep them. So we'll attract those extra 3 or 4 officers that we need. And I appreciate the fact that the staff recommended that we bump up everyone else that is in that band, so.
Mr. Bush?
I just mirror what they've said there.
Okay, Dr. Wallman.
Yes, I agree as well. I mean, this is a good start, but we need to keep looking at this because we need to make sure that we can keep our officers here.
I think the frozen turkeys help a lot. Okay, any more comments? Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes,
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Moving on, item E, approval to update the municipal judge agreement with Lexington County. We haven't done this in, over 10 years? Has it been that long? No, this is a long time. Something like that, yeah. So it's been a while, 3 years, and we haven't even addressed that, and I think it's time that we do that. And they have, Courtney has done a good job of framing that language to address that, and I hopefully we'll get a second on getting that done. So I make that motion to state the municipal judge agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Eric, second it. Any discussion, Eric?
Yeah, and I apologize for not knowing this off the top of my head. I saw this on the agenda, but I don't, what was the previous salary per quarter? $30 divided by 4?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Works for me. It's a bump.
That it? Okay, Mr. Danielson?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Bush? Dr. Wallman?
I support it.
Okay, will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes,
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Approval to use $43,000 in hospitality funds to repair 72 holiday decorations. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sickinger. as you know, we put holiday decorations up along Lake Murray and St. Andrews and Woodrow Street. I don't think it's St. Andrews, it's Woodrow Street, isn't it? Sorry. Okay, and I don't know if you noticed last year, the bulbs were not, well, they were on, they were lit, but you really couldn't see them. It didn't blast out at you. In order to fix that problem, we need to update the bulbs, put LED bulbs in, or we need to buy brand-new fixtures. I think we looked at both options and came up with the solution of changing the bulbs out. And we have the money to do it in hospitality tax, and I think it makes our town look well. So I make that motion to accept that 42, and I believe you are gonna replace it with LED bulbs, is that correct? Which will last more than a year and they'll be much more vibrant. Okay. Councilman Sickinger.
It's one of my favorite times of years when I'm driving home from something and I see that the lights went up. Every time I stop and take a picture, it's an important part of kind of the spirit of the holiday in town, so I'm in favor.
Danielson? Mr. Bush? Okay, and Dr. Wallman?
I just have a question of curiosity. About how long do these decorations last for us? So this sounds like a good investment.
Yeah. And all we're doing is replacing bulbs now, we're not buying new ones, so. All right, the clerk read the roll, please.
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Item G, approval for a contract with Tyron Advisors, First Tyron Advisors, not to exceed $20,000. What they're gonna do is provide an independent municipal financial advice to the town on capital planning projects. This is something that Courtney has asked for as far as to help him with town hall and all the stuff we got going on. We're talking about building a new town hall, we're talking about some other expenditures. How do we do it? What's the most efficient way to do it? Is it to use the money we have in reserves? Is it to get a loan, get a bond, or whatever? They're gonna tell us how to do that, the most efficient way to do that. So in that light, is there a motion for approval of that?
So moved.
Mr. Danielson, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sickinger. Mr. Danielson, do you have any?
Yeah, I just think this is critical to the growth of the town, the long-term planning, which isn't that far off. It's long-term, I'm talking 2 to 3 years. But we're looking out. We want to look out 5 to 10 years. So critical that we do this right and take the right steps to do it. And First Tryon are the ones that can help us do that.
Okay. Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, the thing that really stands out to me here is having investing some of the money to be able to be on strong financial footing in terms of planning of how we're going to spend this money. And there's things that we want to do or the town needs to do, and we need to be able to plan for it accordingly. So,
Okay, Dr. Waldman?
I agree with Mr. Danielson and Mr. Sickinger.
Okay, and Mr. Bush?
I agree as well. Just one question. Do you think we can get an ROI of like $20,001 on this?
Okay, will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Item H, approval for the proposal from firm F3 Concepts under state contract to maximize the office space within the police department, replacing aging furniture as well as rearranging the office space. Again, this is part of our growth as a town. We just support them having more money to spend for officers. That means that the chief is gonna hire 3 or 4 more police officers in the next couple of weeks, right? Okay,
Yeah, hopefully we'll get the candidates that we need with that increase.
good. So that means we're gonna have to have more space to put these new officers. We're at capacity now, but we just need to move some stuff around. these people have looked at the space we have and have given us a maximum, maximize the density in that space we have by moving stuff around. And so I'd like to make that motion to approve the proposal and spend the money to use that money to rearrange the office space in the police department. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And Mr. Danielson, do you have?
Yeah, I think this, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a Band-Aid. Let's be real clear on this. This is all part, this reverts just back to the item G that we just approved. The growth and the necessity for additional space is going to drive this, but this is a Band-Aid that's needed, especially for our investigative division and never mind the overall staff there. So this is all part of the plan, and I'm fully supportive of it. Thank you, Chief, for your input on this.
Looking at the quote, the only question I had was, for admin and patrol, it broke it down, but it didn't for CID. And the patrol evolve, I'm not sure if you would help me understand what patrol evolve is and what CID is at 12,000, just so I can understand. I mean, the rest of the numbers make sense, guest chairs and stand-up desk and et cetera.
So I can get you the right numbers, but I think the CID was around 15,000 by themselves, 12,000. Patrol Evolve, that means they're evolving into that room. When we built that building in 2005, we were under the impression that officers at the end of a shift, 2 or 3 officers would need a cubicle. Well, now we don't need that big space because we work from the car almost exclusively. We've got to come in and have a little bit of space for evidence and that kind of stuff. But this would open up that area a lot more, give them the workspace they need, and allow us to do some training that if you're looking at this screen that's up right now, that's the old training room. It would hold maybe 15 officers. We've had to transition that into an administrative office for our lieutenant and a corporal who exclusively deal with training and equipment on a daily basis. So, like you all said, it's kind of a Band-Aid, but it'll be a good Band-Aid for several years to come. 18 years in that building, I think this is pretty reasonable. Just like you all were talking about 15 years with light bulbs, I think this is pretty reasonable as well.
Thank you. Dr. Wallman, anybody else? Bush?
I appreciate that you doubled down on the agenda tonight.
Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay, item I, appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Last meeting, we appointed Mr. Greco, Ed Greco from the ZBA to be on the Planning Commission, which meant that he had to resign his position on the ZBA. So now we're going to take applications, and we had 2, and John Davis was the person that had put an application in for the Planning Commission or ZBA last meeting, and we have another application from Walter Lindler for the ZBA. And so at this point, I would like to hear recommendations for appointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals to replace Mr. Ed Greco. Is there a motion or is there a nomination for appointments? Mr. Danielson?
I would nominate John Davis for selection to that.
Okay, is there any other, Mr. Secretary, anybody else for any other nominations? None. All in favor of Mr. John Davis as appointment to the ZBA, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Madam Clerk, And congratulations to John Davis for being able to serve on our zoning board of appeals. That finishing our council agenda tonight. We have presentation by citizens. Anybody who's listened to what we've done tonight and want to comment on that or anything else that you heard tonight or bring some new information to us, we would invite you to come up. The people that signed already in advance, I'll call you name up one by one. And then at the end of that, anybody who didn't sign up that wants to make a comment, please come forward or give us your name when I call you. One of the things I want to mention to you, no one should ever leave town hall feeling defeated. There's always something we can do to be done to help you. It's something I learned at our municipal association retreat. And that's the way we approach things here in the town of Irmo. We have a 3-minute time limit. It will be on that little light system in front of you. This is not a debate. We're not going to get into a back and forth, but we would like to hear your comments on what you feel that we should know about. I'll start by calling Miss Benji Friday up. She's the first person to sign the list. Mic up in front of you, Miss Benji. Thank you.
I'm going to read this so I can stay within my 3-minute time frame. Recently, 2 armed robberies occurred in our neighborhood, resulting in 3 dangerous individuals taken off our streets, 10 stolen guns, 1 being a machine gun, confiscated, along with other stolen items. My question is, what is the long-term plan for protecting our neighborhood? These individuals lived in the Harbison Garden Complex next to the Harbison West Elementary School. The residents at the complex deserve a safe environment, as do we. How could someone with a felony receive a voucher to live in subsidized housing? Is there a vetting process? If so, it failed horribly, putting lives at risk. A machine gun was housed next door to an elementary school. Just take a second and think about that. A machine gun. There have been 22 incidents of gunfire on school grounds in 2023. I think we're dealing with a ticking time bomb. It is my understanding there have been meetings to discuss a long-term plan for security. Residents of Beacon Hill and surrounding neighborhoods that have been most effective would love to hear the plan. Meetings are worth nothing if action isn't taken. Thanks to the residents' camera footage and the work of the Irmo Police Department, these thugs, yes, thugs, are off the streets. Cameras work. I would like to ask the council to approve funds for cameras and a substation in our neighborhood so that our residents and the residents of the Harbison Gardens complex can live safely and peacefully.
Thank you. Ms. Frankie Delk. Ms. Frankie Delk.
All know me, Frankie Delk, Lord Howe Road, Irmo. Here to talk about my baby, the garden.
Mike, put the mic in front of you. There you go.
I'm here to talk about the Irma Garden, which was a dream of ours. We've had some problems this year. Wanted to address a huge one. My daughter's coming up after me to address one part. I'm doing one part. Infrastructure was indicated that the town of Irma would provide. We had no lights. I'm a working female. It is dark as Hades out there. I went and my daughter went several nights, and we tried to back each other up so we wouldn't be out there alone. It is very isolated back there, and we had no lights. I've asked, and it's not safe, And we have no other time to go water. When the time changed, it really messed us up. Other than time change, we didn't have a problem. But I've been told we also need electric out there for our fountain that your wife provided. It's still not running. So it's a huge focal point that was promised in the garden. We don't have that either. I'm just saying from a female's perspective, and there's a lot of females out there late at night with me because a lot of us work. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I'm not gonna, I mean, we have a plan for the infrastructure in place right now. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you're aware that the dog park, the Irmo Community Dog Park is being graded as we speak, and that's one of the holdups for us to get the final electricity in, as well as the, the access back and forth that y'all need. But I can assure you that sooner than later, you will see lights back there and hopefully get that fountain.
We want people to lease this place, and we can't expect people to lease it without
Proper what?
Appropriate security.
Appropriate what?
Appropriately secured area, like with lighting.
Well, I mean, that daylight savings times is coming up, and that'll be
I knew
solved.
you was gonna say that,
Yeah.
but you know it's dark.
Right, I got you.
Whatever. And we still work those hours that we still got.
I understand. I can't wait to taste some of your collard greens.
My daughter grew that.
Your daughter's collard green.
The other thing was the rocks. Are they gonna move those cement blocks in the middle of the road? Cause us little old ladies can't walk up the hill.
What
to get to the
cement
garden.
blocks? I thought the riprap, yeah. I got you. Yes, they're gonna remove that.
I got the bejesus scared out of me because I was going back there dark, and there was this huge pile of rocks that I almost slammed the front end of my truck in. There was no marking. So it'd be nice if they would mark stuff back there, because I still have to go back there in the dark.
Give us time with the development of the dog park.
I know, it's all dog park, but it's
They will,
got us
they will,
messed up.
it will be gone, y'all promise, sooner than later. Sooner than later. All right. Melissa Hartzog? Melissa Hartzog. Hartzog. Thank you, Melissa.
Chairman, I want to talk about the garden as well. That is one of my passions right now. Freezing got us really bad out there, and then the cut of the water because we had a frozen pipe. I had reached out to several of the councilmen through email, asking about the water cutoff that was going on. It was January 22nd that I had reached out to several of you in email form. I didn't get a response from anybody. Finally, WIT contacted us on Facebook page about the water being fixed to be cut back on. I would ask if there's a way possible for next year when we hit winter time. I know it was really cold this past one. We normally don't see temperatures that cold. But for something to be done for us to have supplemental water if we're going to have to cut it off, because over a month of cutting the water off is not going to do for somebody that has produce out there. And plus we have elderly people that are also out there gardening. They can't get out there and haul water to their garden, and them are big spots. They're big places, and we want people to be out there gardening with us. So we're wanting more community people coming and gardening with us because we love it out there. We've met several people, and it's a community feel when you're out there with us. So I would like to propose if there's a possible way to get some type of water when we have to cut that water out to maybe help us, the gardeners out there. We don't want to see our produce. You know, we work so hard and watch it grow. We don't want it to all I'm asking, is just some communication. When you cut it off, communicate. Say, hey, we're cutting it off so we can kind of see what we can do as a community to work it out.
Thank you. It's just a great feeling when you have people buying into the community garden and they're fussing at us because we can't get water. I mean, that's all right. I'm just excited that they're that enthusiastic about
You're saying it's a good
gardening.
problem to have,
It's a good
right?
problem.
Okay, yeah.
That these people are, really doing their thing and growing vegetables. Again, like I can't wait to taste some of those greens that they have, James Whitaker. I'm sorry, James Whitmore. James Whitmire, okay. Mr. Whitmire, and Marion Boyd's, Marion Boyd, Lake Murray Boulevard, come on up.
Good evening. I'm not going to make a speech tonight. I'm asking one thing. Mayor Walker, I left it last meeting kind of discouraged with something he said to me. And all I want is for the mayor to apologize to me. And I would accept it if he apologized. And he will hear no more about it.
Okay, that's what you want to know?
I just want you to apologize to me. I'm not going to give the details. Because if I do,
Well, we could take that offline. I'll be glad to talk to you about whatever you're.
you've been avoiding me since that, so I want to clear the air right now, and you will not hear
We're not going to
anything
do
more.
personal agendas are not addressed here. If you have something you want us to know, I'll be glad to address
I
it.
just
Let
want-
us hear it.
No.
If you don't have anything you want us to know, then
I
we'll
just
accept you.
I just want an apology. That's all. Because if I tell them what I want to tell them, then things ain't going to go right. So I just want you to apologize, please.
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and address you directly. We can talk after the meeting, and I'll be glad to talk to you about what you want to apologize about.
Do you really want me to,
It's up to you, sir.
do you really want me to have these people in here to tell, for you to apologize to me for what you said to me?
I don't know what you said that I said to you, sir.
You said you don't want anybody to leave this council meeting feeling defeated. Didn't you say that earlier this afternoon?
I don't want, no one should ever leave the town hall feeling defeated. There's always something we can do to help.
And that's
But
what
as
I'm
far
asking.
as directly wanting me to apologize for something that I don't know what you're talking about, we can have that conversation after the meeting when I sit down. And then if you don't want to hear it after the meeting or you don't want us to do that, that's fine. But this is not the place for personal attacks or personal agendas, okay?
I'll give you that honor, okay?
Okay. Else? All right. Mr. Brian Jumper. Mr. Brian Jumper? Okay, all right. Well, at this point, is there anybody else? Come on up. Give your name and your address, please, so we can add it to our roll. Clerk, are you ready for this, or you want me to write it down? You want me to write it down? You got it.
It'll be short.
Okay.
It'll be short.
Give me your name and address, please.
My name is Maurice Grissett. I'm a neighbor of Benji over in Beacon Hill. This is my first time coming to the meeting, so just trying to get, just the things of how you guys handle stuff. You asked a question, but nobody really answered. So I, too, was sort of looking for an answer. Like I said, I'm a neighbor. We're constantly hearing gunfire, people stealing stuff. My car got broken into 3 times. I've been living here for 3 years. It's an ongoing thing. And every time I call, we always get an officer out. That's it. I mean, there's never anything that come out of it. Ever. Ever. we're always hearing, it's the city, that's the line. I get it, but what else could, I know it's not but so much that you guys can do, but what can we do to help with us? I mean, like she said, she afraid to go in her backyard. Well, I don't like my wife walking the dog when it get dark. I mean, whether it's down the street, behind the house, which we live right off the path. We live right off the path that's going right to the apartment complex. And we get everything. We get it all. I mean, it's a constant thing. I mean, I'm not asking for a police officer to sit out in the cul-de-sac. I know that's not reasonable. Angie mentioned about a camera. Is there any way we can get some type of, I notice there's cameras on these different streets now, different streets, they have cameras up. Is that something we could get right between our two houses on the spotlight maybe? That might be a deterrent. I don't know. I'm not here to vent or complain. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to look for some type of solution that we can have so we can feel a little bit better. To be honest with you, if I knew it was like that, I would not have bought that house. There's no way. No way. And I don't want to sell it. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to sell it. I just want to see if there's something we could do to sort of curb it a little bit. I know we can't go and babysit nobody who, and don't get me wrong, it's not just the people in the apartment complex. It's not just them. So they're not the only issue. Well, that's not the only issue we have, is people drifting through there. There's other people too. But that is an issue. Address some stuff. I don't know, throw something at me or something. I don't know.
I think, and correct me if I may say this, Bill, we had a meeting, y'all need to hear this. We had a meeting, stakeholders over there. It was about 14 people in that Zoom meeting, 17 people in the stakeholders in that Zoom meeting. And this is the school district. This was the City of Columbia, Tina Herbert, our council member representative in this area. It was the management of Wishrock, the Wishrock owner. It was the management of that apartment complex, of course, Town of Irmo, the Harbison Association. There was a number of stakeholders we had a very good meeting with. And we came up with some ideas. We can't share what those ideas are yet because they haven't been published or presented. But I can tell you that a lot of things are happening that is not in your purview right now because there's such a complicated situation over there. You know that. There's City of Columbia, Richland County, Town of Irmo, Lexington County, all those stakeholders in the school district, all those stakeholders have something that has to be done in coordination, and we are working on it. I believe Councilman Sickinger, you had a meeting with Daniel Rickerman, the mayor of Irmo, and he's, I'm sorry, the mayor of Columbia. Thank you, Daniel Rickerman, the mayor of Columbia, and he gave you some ideas of what, but I know you're not ready to, elaborate on that. But I can tell you that we're not just sitting here hearing your complaints and ignoring them. It's a very complicated solution that we're coming up with. And I'm confident that when we're done, that y'all will be either satisfied or buy into what we're doing, but we're just not ready to release it at this meeting. Maybe by next meeting, we will be able to. Like I said, maybe by next meeting, we will be able to tell you publicly what we're planning on doing and what we are planning, what we have put in place. But it's not a back and forth.
Yeah, I think just two things to add to that. You said it pretty well. One thing is, I think it's really important to understand is that because the town only has limited powers in that arena because of the confluence of ownership and lines and where, City of Columbia is and all those things. The best efforts are always done in good faith first, and then, exhausting all those avenues before public pressure and creating bad blood kind of thing. And yeah, there's as a council, this is something we care deeply about and why we're continuing to work on it and why it's not, we made an effort a couple of years ago that we thought was going to have an impact, and clearly it wasn't enough, and that's why we're doubling down on it.
All right. Right, come on up. Come on up.
Thomas Gradle, 725 Chadford Road. This is just a separate thing from what I was about to say. I notice a lot of people in this town don't feel safe. The only advice I have for that is buy a gun, learn how to use it. Okay, so government transparency is a paramount issue within this nation. And, leading into that, I think I'd like to have some legislation drafted that would force the Irmo Police Department to amend their body-worn camera and dash camera policy for their vehicles, because that policy is full of holes that allows these officers to run around otherwise unsupervised. I believe public servants should be held to a standard that is much higher than the citizen, and they should be scrutinized in everything they do. So where I'm going with this is the policy needs to state that any time that officer is on duty, that camera needs to be rolling. And any time that officer is operating a piece of property which does not belong to him, that camera needs to be rolling, whether on or off duty. And certain sections of these camera footages, if they don't violate somebody's HIPAA laws, need to be accessible under the Freedom of Information Act. There is no right to privacy in public, so there was that. And there's also I think Councilman Bush mentioned that it was a funding issue. I noticed you guys passing out a lot of money at this meeting. If you're willing to spend $172,000 on some festival, I'm sure that you can find some money to equip our police department with a proper camera system. That'll be it.
Thank you. Talking about body cameras, right? Okay. All right. Ma'am, come on up. You've been so patient raising your hand. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Charlene Young. I live on Cape Flattery Court in Beacon Hill. I am single and getting ready to retire. I bought my house in 1996, and I almost have it paid for. But I am not safe in that neighborhood. I don't believe in guns, but I'm going out next week to buy a gun. I'm going to Palmetto Armory down here and learn how to shoot on Wednesdays. And I don't believe in guns. I am scared to live in this neighborhood. I have worked all my life to buy this home. All my life. And this, yes, it's a problem, but City of Columbia, Richland County Sheriff, Town of Irmo should all work together. Just because that little area right down there at the end of the cul-de-sac and on those trails, they can't decide who belongs to. Does that matter when I walk down there and I get shot? I don't walk those trails anymore, and I used to walk them all the time. I don't do it anymore. And I don't feel safe. And I think we've talked about this for years. I know I haven't addressed this committee before, but I have been behind it and calling and making complaints and stuff. And we've had promises in the past. I'm glad to hear you're working on something, Mayor Walker, but something needs to be done. I cannot sell my house I've worked all my life for, because nobody's going to buy it in that subdivision. It's supposed to be a prominent subdivision. So I would like to see something done. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Come on up. Come on up. You, okay, over there, come on up. How you doing?
How are you?
Give me your name and address, please.
My name's Audra Haywisher, and I'm in the Beacon Hill subdivision. And I'm one of the fortunate residents that got my house burglarized by 3 armed individuals. You can't, okay, sorry.
There you go.
There we go. I'll repeat what I said. I'm one of the lucky residents that got my house burglarized by the 3 individuals that came from Harbinson Gardens. I was the one that had the camera footage to supply to IPD, and thankfully I could get the 3 police jurisdictions to get these individuals arrested. There are a couple of things that we've learned from this task, and I'm sorry if I'm shaking because I get really upset talking about it. I put myself out there on social media. Those videos got viewed over 20,000 times. This is the reason why those suspects got arrested. This is the reason why that 18-year-old has 17 felony charges. The juveniles have 6 each. There are more in there. One of the things that I've learned too, those Harbison Garden residents have no clue what's happening on the Irmo side, and Irmo has no clue what those residents are dealing with, and we're 20 yards apart. We need to have a monthly meeting with those residents that are scared just as we're scared to come up with solution and arm them with knowledge of how to address these things. Residents provided me information with names that got those individuals caught, that I turned into investigator at IPD. So this is one of the quickest time that we got 3 jurisdictions to work together, because 1, cameras, and 2, we got our community working together. We have got to do better, and we got to make it happen. So what I propose is IPD, CPD, councils on both sides to get an action committee to have this happen. Harbison Gardens has a monthly town hall meeting with their residents, that they all talk about it. You know what the sad part is? It's only filled with women and children, no males. Think about that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any, all right, Cheryl? Okay, not Cheryl, Phyllis? Thank you, sorry. I'm raising, thank you very much. Give us your name and address, please.
Yes, good evening, council. My name is Phyllis Coleman. I live at 7336 Moeller Street. And I'm responding to what I think I understand about ordinance 23-03, about the use of water, or it's my understanding that one could be ticketed if the water, I don't know, drips.
That was shot down now, you
Oh,
realize
it was?
that?
Okay, I didn't hear that part.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Okay.
that was not,
And then that's just me not paying attention. I missed that part, I'm sorry.
no
Okay,
problem.
then, forget.
Well, you don't want to talk about how great we are otherwise?
I'm sorry, that was a wonderful decision.
Okay.
Because I heard far more serious stuff, and I was like, put your brain power on that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Cheryl, I'll call you next.
Good evening, council. I'm Cheryl Bowman, 1404 Murrayview Drive, Columbia, 29212. And my concern, what I want to bring to the table is the garden. I'm garden party partners with Frankie, and some of us, I guess she's gone. But my concern is the water access that we didn't have for about 2 months with the garden. And it was due to pipes being broken, you know, because of the freezing temperatures that we had. So, and we were told that they were repaired, but the water wasn't going to be turned on because they didn't want to be caught with, you know, with those temperatures dipping like that and the pipes breaking again. So I kind of like numbers. So I went back from December 2022 all the way up to February 14th to look at the temperatures that were in the 30s. So in December, 8 nighttime temperatures were in the 30s. And 5 of the 8 nights, the temperatures were below 32 degrees freezing. And there were 3 days in December where the temperatures were in the 30s. And 2 of those days was freezing, below freezing. So in January, there were 5 nighttime temperatures in the 30s, but none below 32 degrees, none freezing. There were no daytime temps that were in the 30s. In February, there were 2 nighttime temperatures that were in the 30s, but none below freezing. So when I did the numbers, so that was a total of 15 nighttime temperatures in the 30s. Only 20% of the time were they in the 30s. So 80% of the time, the temperatures were above 39 degrees. So of the 30-degree temperatures, only 5 times they were below 32 degrees, and I'm talking about 76 days. So 93% of the time, there were no nighttime temperatures below 32 degrees, 93% of the time. Yet we didn't have water. We didn't have water for 2 months. So my recommendation is this to the town. Devise an SOP, standard operation procedure, for the community garden access and unavailability due to frost and freeze warning weather forecast. The garden is new, we know, so these things need to be devised. You can have somebody review the weather forecast weekly, November through March, for possible frost and freeze warnings. 10-day weather forecasts are available on weather channels, internet, all local news stations. So what I'm asking is for the gardeners to be notified when the water is unavailable and turned off due to the frost and freeze warnings. And the town posted on their websites, posted at the garden, a sign, and a notice indicating when the days the water will be turned off from this day to this day, and when it will be turned back on. So we won't be caught for 2 months. We have
Thank you.
invested much time and money in our winter gardens. and
Thank you.
Just disappointed.
Thank you very much. I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Ms. Pierce.
Council. I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Eric, for keeping us in the loop as to what you're doing out there for us in Beacon Hill. As my statements last month concerning the 911, I would like to know if you found out anything else that can help us with our 911 situation, since we are in the devil's triangle, so to speak. And I appreciate everything that you're doing to help us out and listening to us. I would like to, meetings that are going forward with Harbison HOA and with Harbison Gardens. I do believe it needs to be a community effort. Those women over there, those families, I've been one of those women. They don't deserve the right to live like that. Just like we in Beacon Hill want to live in peace, coexist. But I think monies that have been given to organizations, to programs over there could have been better spent on security cameras, lighting, and security. Not only for us, but for that middle school as well. I realize it's in a different county, but again, it borders. And there again, we look forward to having dialect back and forth on what we can do to help ourselves and help the community to feel safer. And I think cameras on every egress leaving off of those trails needs to be done to not only help us, but Archer's Court, Quail Valley. There's a lot of places that those cameras could come in very handy. And they can go on the Dominion light poles. They can be run by solar power. They're already set up. Those Dominion light poles are already set up with electronics to have solar-powered video cameras. But again, thank you, and I appreciate
there anybody else that would like to address council? Let us know what you're thinking. Seeing none? Everything? All right, seeing none, that'll conclude the presentation by citizens. We don't have a discussion schedule, we don't have an executive session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The council meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.